لَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ سُبُلَنَا سُبْحَانَ رَبِّكَ رَبِّ الْعِزَّةِ عَمَّا يَصِفُونَ وَسَلَامٌ عَلَى الْمُرْسَلِينَ وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a beautiful gift and said that فَإِنِّي قَرِيب, I'm near to you. نَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ, that we are even closer to you than your own jugular vein. We are closer to you than your own self. هُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ, that wherever you are, we are with you. Wherever you are, we are with you. You have our companionship. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this gift that He is near to us, the gift that He is close to us, the gift that He is with us all the time. And this is such an incredible gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted, He could have just said that we will give you the Quran and the Sunnah, and you should live your life in this world according to this book, according to the Sunnah, and we will meet you on the day of judgment, and on that day, then we will meet you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have done that, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't do that. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a distant Lord, He's not a distant Rabb, He's not some absent Rabb. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instead has gifted us His nearness, His closeness in this world. And this is something which all of us experience. We are all travelers in one sense or the other. And whenever you travel from one place to another, from one city to another, from one country to another, when you're traveling, and anyone who has traveled, all of us, we know this, that when you travel alone and when you travel with a companion, there's a difference. It's a totally different feeling. So for example, many times we have to travel alone. And when you're traveling alone, you feel, even if it's for a religious trip, so you're going to meet some scholar, you're going to meet your Shaykh, you're going to go visit some good gathering, and you're going there and you're all alone. When you're traveling alone, you feel that loneliness. And sometimes a person begins to also have wasawis and whisperings and insinuations that what am I doing? Where am I going? And shaitan and nafs, they try to deceive us, trick us, they stop us. And that threat is always there. Plus, when you're traveling alone, then there's also this danger that where is the destination? You have to be alert all the time, attentive all the time, lest a person takes a wrong turn or a wrong step. So you have to be fully aware about everything that is happening in your surrounding. And there are a lot of risks associated with the traveling alone. But all of us, sometimes we have to, by necessity or some emergency, we travel, and we travel alone, we feel that. Now, when you're traveling, on the other hand, with a companion, that's a totally different feeling. When you're traveling with the companion, you will feel their company. You have someone to talk to. You can divide the time. The other person can take care of your belongings. You can use the restroom. There's this element of ease. There's this element of comfort. A person, they don't need to be alert or attentive all the time, because they know that I have my friend, I have this companion who's with me, and together we are in this. And also sometimes when you share the same goal, the same purpose of the same destination. When you're going to visit someone, then you also are together in that. And sometimes when doubts come, or these wasawis from shaitan, they come to us. A person can resist, and a person can take strength from their partner. And it's interesting that the Prophet ﷺ, he Nabi Wasallam gave the example of a traveler. Said that you are supposed to be in this world, kun fi dunya ka annaka gharib aw abiru sabil. That be in this world and feel in this world and live in this world as if you are a stranger, or as if you're just a traveler on the path. So that's actually how we're supposed to be, a traveler in this world. But the amazing thing about this journey of dunya is that we're not just any traveler. We are traveling in this journey of this world, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your companion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your partner. We have the intimacy, the nearness, the companionship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is really what this life is supposed to be, a beautiful journey where we feel this nearness of Allah ta'ala all the time. Every second, every moment of our lifetime, one should have this feeling, one should have this awareness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help is with me, Allah ta'ala's companionship is with me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ma'iyya, his intimacy is with me. And if you have that feeling, if you can carry that feeling, this life becomes beautiful. You'll begin to enjoy life. And this is what, if you look at the ummah, all the great awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Siddiqeen, the Salihin, the Muttaqeen, the Mashayikh, all of those people, they felt this. They had such feelings in their heart, and that is why they were happy and content in this life, because they have this happiness knowing that Allah Ta'ala is with me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is near us, and He is near to me all the time, and they felt this all the time. One thing is to know that Allah Ta'ala is with you. The other is to feel that nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and feel it not just in 1 month, but to feel this all the time, every single moment of your lifetime. This is what the mashayikh of this ummah were. They felt this. They were feeling this extreme nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time. And that truly is a life which is worth living. And if you see that, what would be such a life if you feel distant from Allah? If you don't feel that nearness of Allah, that closeness, and we're just going through the motions of this life, eating and drinking and earning and living, what's the benefit? We're losing out on the most beautiful thing this life has to offer, the most incredible thing that this worldly life has to offer, which is to feel the qurb, the nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the sad tragedy is that we are speaking here not about unbelievers or disbelievers. If they don't feel this, that's understandable, because they don't have iman. But the real tragedy is that the mu'mineen, the mu'minat, the Muslimeen and the Muslimat, those who believe, the believing men, the believing women, we are the ones who don't feel this nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this companionship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's something to reflect, that how could you be a Muslim? How could we believe in these ayat of the Quran and still say that I don't feel this closeness? I feel distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself is saying that I'm closer to you than your own self. Now, why is all of this important? Because normally when Ramadan passes away, after Ramadan, all of us, we begin to feel some dip in our spirituality. We begin to feel distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's amazing that in Ramadan, we worked so hard and we did so many ibadat. And it's an amazing thing that after Ramadan, we start losing. And we feel like we've lost everything that we got in the month of Ramadan. And sometimes we begin to lose this very early on. I'm speaking to you, we're having this talk around 15th of Shawwal. 15 days have passed by already. But if we were to have this talk maybe 1 week before, some of us might feel that I've lost everything when it was 7th of Shawwal. For some of us, it might be that the first day of Shawwal, the day of Eid, we begin to feel as if we are losing out. We'll start losing. Whatever nur, whatever barakah, whatever strength, whatever taqwa, whatever ta'alluq we attain with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the nearness, whatever intimacy that we have felt in our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we start feeling as if we are losing all of that and losing it very quickly, very early, so soon after Ramadan. The month hasn't even passed Shawwal, and we feel that we're losing everything. And this is again something to reflect, that how can we accept this about our deen? The students would understand this better if I were to say that you go to a university and you attain a 4 years BSc degree. You work 4 years at the university, you study hard, and then you get this BSc in mathematics or economics. And then after 4 years of study, you begin to lose that knowledge, that ilm in a month. And you would say that's not possible. I can never accept such a thing in the dunya. That 4 years of effort, and then I'm beginning to lose all of that in 1 month. I will never agree to this, never accept this. And then the same thing is happening to us in deen, and we accept this. We accept this, and we don't even reflect what is happening to us. That we worked so hard in Ramadan, Taraweeh and Tilawa and Salah and Itikaf and du'as and fasting, did such incredible amounts of ibadah, and then we start losing. And we are happy, we accept that. So what happens is that when we begin to feel that we are losing, it's important that we reflect that it's the month has changed, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't changed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Ramadan is the same Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Shawwal. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who was sending us his nearness, his companionship in Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still sending us, still giving us that same nearness, that same companionship, that same intimacy in Shawwal. So how does this distance take place? Why do we feel distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And in any relationship, if you feel distant from the other party, one of two things can happen. And sometimes the billboards that we see in the US, especially on the highways, they're quite meaningful. Not everyone, but a lot of them are quite meaningful. Unfortunately, we don't find such meaningful advertisements and billboards in our Muslim countries. It's just cheap advertising and just superficial labels and slogans. But we have seen that in the US, there's a lot of thinking that goes behind marketing, and especially the motto line that they put on those ads, and especially on the highway when you're driving. And, in one such billboard, the following was written, something very deep. It said that if you feel distant from God, guess who moved? If you feel distant from God, guess who moved? And they hit the nail on the head, because in any relationship, if you feel distant, either the other party pulls away from you or you pull away from them. There's no third possibility. And Allah Ta'ala in Quran, this is absolute haqq. وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ قِيلًا. Who can be more truthful than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this eternal kalam, which is of eternal absolute truth? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, نَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. That we are closer to you than your very own self, than your own jugular vein. فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. That I'm qareeb, I'm close to you. هُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. I'm with you wherever you are. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is closer to us than our own selves. So if we feel distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's impossible that Allah ta'ala pulls back. We have pulled back. It's only we have pulled back. Imagine in this world, if you have a lover and a beloved, and the beloved says to the lover, I'm close to you, I'm near you. The beloved is saying to you, your beloved says to you that I'm close to you, I'm near to you, I'm with you, and then the lover pulls away. We won't even call that person a lover. That their beloved is with them, the beloved is close to them, their beloved is giving them the gift of their nearness and companionship, and this lover is pulling away. He's not a lover. It's fake. This person was a fake lover. It's all fakery. It's not a true love. So the month of Ramadan, it actually came to make us true lovers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. True lovers. Ramadan was not just a month of fasting. This is a big misconception. People think, it's just month of fasting. The month of fasting is over. It's Eid day, and it's done. Now we wait 11 months for the next Ramadan. And sometimes we even teach our children that Ramadan is the month of fasting. That's incorrect. We have to complete the sentence for them. Ramadan is the month of fasting in order to get the nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the complete sentence. So Ramadan was the month in which I fasted because I wanted to become the lover of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a true lover. I wanted to become the beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now that fasting is over, fasting was just a means, an ibadah, an action, a mechanism by which we're supposed to get that nearness. But now the fasting part is over, but the nearness is supposed to continue. The companionship is supposed to be there. It's supposed to continue. That was the mission of Ramadan. It wasn't about fasting. It was the month of wilaya, the month in order to become the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to get this wilaya, to get this nearness, to get this intimate friendship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this companionship and nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we come out of Ramadan, we are in the middle of Shawwal, we need to reflect on this, each one of us. And truly, if we want this Ramadan that just passed by, if we want this Ramadan to be different, if we want this Ramadan to have an effect and have an after effect on us and a life-changing effect on us and bring a revolution within our life, then the only hope that we have is that we have to do right. We have to make this Shawwal best for us. We have to make it different right now in Shawwal. And we have plenty of days left in Shawwal. Right? This Shawwal will determine our Ramadan. This Shawwal, this 1 month, this is the make or break month. It's either going to make our coming year or break our coming year. It will make our coming year if we can do this month right, if we can live this month in the proper way. Within Shawwal, we have to work on ourselves. It's all up to us. The ball is in our court, whether we utilize this opportunity of Shawwal or we blow this opportunity. If we blow this opportunity, we are not only losing out on Shawwal, we are losing out on Ramadan, we are losing out on the whole year that is about to come. That is why the Sahaba Ikram and the early Muslims, when they would pass Ramadan, they would make dua to Allah Ta'ala for Kubuliya, that, oh Allah, whatever ibadat and whatever du'as we made in the month of Ramadan, we were able to do out of your tawfiq that you gifted to us. Ya Allah, we ask you that you accept those ibadat, accept those du'as. Allah, grant us acceptance, grant us Kubuliya. They would always be thinking about Allah Ta'ala throughout Shawwal, thinking about Ramadan, thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thinking about Kubuliya, because the real thing is Kubuliya. And not just in Shawwal, they would continue to be thinking about their Kubuliya for the next 4, 5, 6 months. In the kitab, in the books, it's mentioned that the early Muslims, they would be making dua for Qubuliya for 6 months after Ramadan. And then for 5, 6 months before Ramadan, they would again start their preparation for Ramadan. The whole year would be revolving around Ramadan, preparing for Ramadan and then Qubuliya for Ramadan. Because they understood the secret that when Ramadan ends, whether Ramadan will have any effect on us or not, that is going to be determined. What comes after Ramadan? And we have to keep asking Allah Ta'ala for Qubuliya. We have to keep connecting to Allah. We have to keep doing dhikr of Allah, keep thinking about Allah. We have to keep that connection alive with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's just one way to keep that connection alive, by thinking about Ramadan and making dua to Allah Ta'ala for the acceptance of Ramadan. So how do we achieve this closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This closeness is not that when I go to the masjid, then I want to feel close to Allah. The mission that we have is that we want to feel this closeness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wherever I am, whether I'm in the masjid or outside of the masjid, when I'm inside the shop, in the market, in the university, at college, in office. Everyone feels close to Allah Ta'ala in the masjid. The real test is that when you're outside the masjid, in a mahal, in an environment of neglect, of ghafla, right? Can you feel close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after Ramadan in that environment? So practically, there are two ways. The way to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are two prime main ingredients. And one of them is that we should feel more love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And second is to do more zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And both are related. The more we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the more we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the closer you will feel to Allah ta'ala. And actually, these two things were happening in Ramadan. And when you begin to unpack Ramadan, all the ingredients of Ramadan, it wasn't the hunger and the thirst. When we were fasting, right, we were fasting, keeping away from the unlawful things and the lawful things. We're doing that out of our love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We loved Allah. We were manifesting our love, expressing our love. We were feeling that love for Allah ta'ala. Otherwise, we could have cheated in Ramadan, right? We could cheat in our fasting. So even though the temptation was there, but this is called love, that you don't cheat. We were feeling that love for Allah Ta'ala in Ramadan. And when you feel love, you want to obey your beloved. You obey your beloved entirely. You're loyal to your beloved. You can never imagine betraying your beloved. And that's why when we are feeling love for Allah Ta'ala in Ramadan, we were loyal. And the same thing was happening about zikr. Because when we are in Ramadan, through fasting, then Taraweeh, then Dua, then Quran, in all of these ibadat, we were in a state of perpetual zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Zikr is ibadah. We were thinking about Allah, remembering Allah in one way or the other. So these two things were essential parts of Ramadan. We were in zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time, and all the time we're feeling love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These were the two ingredients that enable us to feel closer to Allah ta'ala. And now after Ramadan, if we still want to feel that closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to find ways to do the exact same two things. Same two things. Love is a feeling. Zikr is also a feeling of the heart. It's about feelings. Loving Allah in our heart. Talking to Allah Ta'ala, having conversations with Allah Ta'ala, making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is love. That, oh Allah, just having your own private conversation with Allah, manifesting, expressing your love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time. This could even take the form of du'as. In fact, this is what the masnoon du'as are. One of the ways in which we can express our love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and maintain that connection is to have a habit of reciting masnoon du'as. These are du'as when you are thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can make du'as in our own language. You're walking and you're thinking, making dua in your heart. You're lying on the bed and you're making dua to Allah ta'ala. You're going somewhere and you're making dua, silent dua, heartfelt du'as. So du'as and munajat and talking, these are, doing ibadat in khalwa. These are all ways in which a person can express this muhabbat for Allah. We can feel love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should try to increase in all of these things. And secondly, dhikr. Dhikr is also a feeling. Zikr, increasing our zikr, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the day. So these are two things that we should try to increase. And then at the same time, we should also understand that what are the obstacles which prevent us from feeling this closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here also there are two things, two main things. Just like two main things which will enable us to feel the closeness of Allah, two main obstacles that prevent us from feeling this nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that make us feel distant. Number one is that we don't take our deen seriously. We trivialize our deen. We don't discriminate, right? We view the deen as important. We have a space for deen in our life. We are not irreligious. We understand the importance of deen and religion and our ibadah and all of that. But we trivialize our deen. We don't take our deen seriously. We prioritize other things over our deen. Deen is not prioritized. Our job is prioritized. Our social functions are prioritized. We have to pay allegiance to higher values of our society and fashion, media, custom. So that is prioritized. In our academics, we have to pay allegiance to standards of academic study. And sometimes we end up compromising our deen. We trivialize our deen. We prioritize other things. We take every other thing in our life seriously. We give seriousness. We don't trivialize other things. We don't trivialize our study. We don't trivialize our university education. We don't trivialize our career. We don't trivialize our job. We don't trivialize our office. We don't trivialize our car. We don't trivialize our fabrics. We don't trivialize our house. We want to have the best quality for each one of these things. And even when you get the best quality, we want to improve. We were living in the world of upgrades. I want an upgrade. Now a better car. Now a better, even better. Now a best car. So we want to keep on improving, keep on upgrading ourselves, living in this world of upgrades, taking our dunya so seriously. But when it comes to our deen, we are not quality conscious. We don't think about improvement. We don't think about upgrades. We are content when we are 15 years old. If I knew 30 surahs of the Quran, I'm 35 years old, I still know the same number of surahs. I know 15 surahs when I was a child. Now I'm a mature adult. I still know 15 surahs. And we are content. It doesn't bother us. Why? Because we don't take our deen seriously. We know the same level of Quranic knowledge, same level of the hadith knowledge. We are at the same level in terms of Islamic education. It doesn't bother us. 10 years pass by, 20 years pass by, 30 years pass by. It doesn't bother us. We don't take our deen seriously. And on the other hand, in parallel fashion, in terms of our dunya, we are advancing. And if someone says, no, keep the same level of education, we look at that person as if that person is crazy. So what do you mean? Physics? I can't be content with a grade 10 level of physics. I'm on a college level of physics. Then BSc, Masters, PhD. Similarly, when you graduate, I'm not content with a clerk job for my whole life. I'm going to be a manager. Then I'm going to be a CEO. I'm going to be the head of the organization. Keep on advancing. We have ambitions. We have plans. We have dreams. We have goals. We have vision. We have a mission for how we want to advance and keep improving and upgrading ourselves. 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan. This is where I want to see myself. Always thinking about quality, improvement. And when it comes to deen, unfortunately, and sometimes even the training that we give to our kids, we are content. You ask a person, they're content with the 5 pillars, as if the entirety of deen is summed up in the 5 pillars. The deen is all about the 5 pillars. 5 pillars, those are pillars. If I just create 5 pillars and say that is your house, live under that house, the person will look at me and as if I'm crazy. That who lives under 5 pillars? But that's what our deen is. We're living under 5 pillars, no house. Can we really say that we are praying the best salah? That we have the best of character, the best of akhlaq? Can we have the best of taqwa? We don't even think like that. Years go by, we are praying low quality salah. And we aren't even interested in fixing it. If someone gives us a low quality meal, we feel that. We won't be willing to eat a bland meal, but we are willing to pray these bland salah, empty of the remembrance of Allah, empty of the love for Allah, over and over again. So this is one of our big problems collectively, that we don't take our deen seriously. We just want to scrape by, pass by, bare minimum. D minus. So sometimes we explain to university students, it's like a D minus attitude. If a student comes to me on the first day of class and says that, sir, I want to just pass your course. What's the minimum grade that I need to get to pass? It's a D minus. What's that? Is it 40? If it's 40, I just want a 40%. That's it. I don't want a 40.1, just 40%. That's it. Now, with that attitude, no one would think that's desirable. We would think that is unhealthy. You should strive for an A, strive for an A plus. You might end up with the B plus. Strive for a B plus. You might end up with the C plus. Right? Strive, try to excel, try to get Hasan, aim for excellence, aim high. And that's the attitude that we have in our other aspects of our life. But when it comes to deen, we make this mistake. So what is the bare minimum? Fard only. Fard only, want to delete the nafil, delete the sunnah. Is it really necessary that should I pray 2 sunnahs? Is it really necessary to wake up for tahajjud and pray nafil? Is it really necessary to recite the Quran? Is it really necessary to recite durood on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is it really necessary to recite istighfar? What's the harm if I don't remember Allah? What's the harm if I don't do muraqabah? What's the harm if I leave this or leave that? If we have this bare minimum attitude, then that's not the deen of Quran. Because technically speaking, in Quran, there's so many things which the ulama will say technically they're not obligatory, but they're there because they give you the ideal that you need to become people of taqwa, people of sabr, shukr, ihsan, muhsinin, muttaqeen, mukhlisin, people of ikhlas. And we would have to delete all these ayat of the Quran then, if that's not the goal. So we have to leave this mentality. We have to take our deen seriously. And the second reason why we don't have this closeness and love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is because we are caught up in one of the 3 kinds of wrong love. If you have a wrong love in your heart, very difficult to feel the right love. The right love, the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the love for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the love for the Quran, the love for the Sunnah, the love for the Sahaba, the love for the Shuhada, the Salihin, the Mu'mineen. Wrong love takes away that ability. Wrong love is the romantic love, the love for ghair mahram, love for people of the opposite gender, love for jamal, physical beauty. It's not even permissible to look, let alone fantasize and daydream about these things. And some people, they're just stuck in this. They just have the wrong love for some person in their heart. And because they have this wrong kind of love, they're unable to lower their gaze. They're unable to control their emotions. They're unable to control their thoughts. Some cases are unable to control their actions. We cannot get the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with this wrong kind of love in our heart. The heart has to be purified of this. Another wrong love, when a person, especially when they grow older, is the love for dunya. Dunya, which you can say world, the glitter, the glamour, the wealth, the fame, the fortune, the recognition and praise, all of this dunya. We may not be able to feel the pleasure from salah, from ibadah, but we find pleasure in all the worldly things in the dunya. And this love for the dunya, this is very crippling. The Prophet said in a hadith that hubbu dunya ra'su kulli khati'atin. The love for the dunya is the root of every sin. So some people are caught up in this kind of a love. And then thirdly, there's some people who are caught up in another unlawful love, which is self-love, loving our own self. This leads to pride. The Prophet ﷺ said that you will never be able to enter Jannah if you have even an atom drop of pride in your heart. Allah Ta'ala will scan our heart on that day, scanning our heart for pride and arrogance. So this is the second reason that some of us, we don't feel this closeness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, many of us, this is real obstacle, that we are caught up in one of these three kinds of love. Love for a ghair mahram, or love for the dunya, or just in love with our own self. And Ramadan, Allah Ta'ala sent this month so that we could rid ourselves of all of these false loves. It wasn't about fasting. Fasting was just to launch us. Ramadan came to take out this love for ghair mahram. It came to take out this love for dunya. It came to take out this love for this self, for our own self. It came to humble us, give us humility, ajazi, to learn abadiyat, ubudiyat, servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to humble us. Thirst and hunger, it humbles a person. And this is the mission. This mission continues. It doesn't end on Eid. So how do we get this closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? For that, first we have to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, one of these billboards on the highway said something quite profound, that you don't fall in love with a stranger. Nobody falls in love with a stranger. And we have kept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a stranger in our life. We don't know him. So we have to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Know the way he has revealed himself in the Quran. And that requires ilm. Ilm. Being connected to knowledge. Being connected to ilm. So this is one practical thing that we have to do after Ramadan, is that we have to keep ourselves connected with the sacred knowledge, with knowledge of the Quran and knowledge of the hadith of the Prophet Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. Try to learn, try to increase your knowledge. Try to invite one another to become people of knowledge. Invite one another that they can drink from this well, this ocean of this tradition of scholarship that we have in the deen. So we should make this niyat that I'm going to seek out this path of knowledge, and I'm going to try to learn and increase my knowledge of both knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, marifat of Allah, and knowledge of the commandments of Allah, knowledge of how to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to know Allah, and I want to know how to please my Allah ta'ala. This is the real knowledge that we need. And don't just look at this ilm knowledge as a knowledge program. Look at this as a love program. To know Allah will help you to fall in love with Allah. Look at this as an iman program, as a taqwa program. It's not just an ilm program. It's an iman program. It's a taqwa program. It's something that is going to preserve your very iman. So we should all try to embark on a systematic, regular, proper study of Islamic knowledge. Even if it means just once a week for 2 hours. Even if it means every Saturday or every Sunday morning for 2 hours. Even if it means giving up some of your weekend time, some of your evening time, we must connect ourselves to sacred knowledge of deen, because this is ilm, and in this ilm lies the secret of how to live your life in such a way that you become pleasing in the sight of Allah. So if we want to earn the pleasure of Allah, the rida of Allah, the liqa of Allah, we must seek this knowledge that is there in these books, this in our tradition, from the ulama, from the scholars. And again, for many of us, we are college students or university students. That by definition means that you're a person of knowledge. You're already a person of knowledge. That means that you must engage and sustain at that same level as you're engaged with the dunya. So if you're acquiring so much knowledge of the dunya, you must, in order to save your iman and your taqwa, you have to engage the deen in a similar manner. You're going to have to acquire the knowledge of the deen in a parallel way. Otherwise, there will be this disparity. There will be this inequality, that your knowledge of the dunya is at a BSc level and your knowledge of the deen is at a 5th grade level. And sooner or later, this disparity will catch up to you. And in the worst cases, what we have seen, unfortunately, at campuses, is that people fall into shak, into doubts, shubahat, uncertainty, skepticism, questions about your very iman. So it befits that if you are students of knowledge in this world, we should also become students of the real knowledge, the knowledge of deen, and keep in touch with such people. Join ourselves to such people. Join ourselves to this sohbah, to good company, but this nisbah. And there are things around us. We just need to tap into them. Tap into the right people, the right websites, right institutions, the right ulama, the mashayikh, and learn. And for the men, so this was number one. The second practical thing, which is particularly for the men, is that we have to keep one nisbat, is that this nisbat with the ilm has to be there. We have to keep that nisbat alive. The second nisbat, the second connection that we need to keep alive is our connection with the masjid. We have to remain attached to your masjid. And if for some reason, if you've come from a neighborhood that's far from here, get attached to your local masjid, to your local masajid. Just like a fish is happy in water, right? The fish attains peace and tranquility when it's inside the water. Just like that, the believer feels peace and tranquility in the masjid. So now we have bid farewell to the month of Ramadan. We don't want to bid farewell to the masjid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if we bid farewell to this masjid, then we are bidding farewell to one important aspect of our deen. Don't bid farewell to masjid. We should make this dua that Allah, you gave me this ta'alluq with the masjid. in Ramadan, Allah, I want to do qadr. Allah, accept me to do qadr of this taluk. Enable me that I can keep coming over and over again. Jummah, Isha, Fajr, as much as we can. So we have to keep that taluk alive. Some of the ulama, they write that the masjid on the day of Qiyamah will also be calling, will also be among those people that will seek the rights that are due to it. So the masjid might come calling to us, like the Quran might come calling to us and say that, how much time did you give me? I was established on the earth for you. Did you come and pray salah inside of me? So at least we should make that intention that I will pray in the masjid, make dua to Allah, that Allah, you give me the tawfiq. Just like you gave me the tawfiq to pray in Ramadan, Allah, I ask you, I beg you from the depth of my heart that Allah give me the ability to pray my salah after this month in the masjid as well. And the third connection we need to keep alive is with the Quran. The Quran will also come on the day of Qiyamah and will ask the believers that, did you fulfill the rights that I had over you? Yes, Ramadan is called the Shahrul Quran, is the month of Quran, but it doesn't mean that Ramadan ends and we end our relationship with the Quran. We have to keep that connection alive. So, Alhamdulillah, in Ramadan, we developed, again, out of the fazl of Allah Ta'ala, we were weak. Allah Ta'ala gave us this ability. Allah Ta'ala allowed us to come near the Quran. And if you think about this, it was just the rahmat of Allah Ta'ala that we were so filthy, so full of sins. Yet Allah Ta'ala gave us the ability to touch the Quran, to learn the Quran, to recite the Quran. So we should now drink from this rahmat of Allah Ta'ala. And we should build up, continue this relationship that we had with the Quran. After this month, continue to read the Quran every day. It doesn't take long. For those who can read one juz every day, that's the ideal. And every date of the Islamic calendar, you can, for example, it's 15th Shawwal today, you complete your 15th juz. 16th Shawwal, 16th juz. The month and the Islamic month ends, your Quran also ends. And make this the routine for your whole life. Continue to hold this Quran in your hands. Continue to feel this Quran in your heart. Continue to read the beautiful words of Allah Ta'ala, the beautiful speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we must maintain this taluk with the Quran. Try to read this every single day. Make it like that for yourself. That just like there will not be a single day which goes by in which you fail to eat or drink, there will not be a single day which goes by in which I will fail to recite the Quran. Right? The things like that. There will not be a single day that goes by that you talk to somebody on the phone, talk to somebody in person. So think that, Ya Allah, I pledge to you that I will not let a single day in my life go by from now on in which I will not connect myself to the Quran, even if it's just for 5 minutes. If one juz is difficult, half a juz. Half a juz is difficult, 1 page. Just take 3-4 minutes to recite 1 page. So the key to success after this month is to keep these connections alive. Keep these nisbate alive. Keep these taluk alive. Number 1 was with ilm. Number 2, masjid. Number 3, Quran. And number 4 is the good company that we got. We should keep attending pious and religious gatherings. We should keep attending the gatherings of nasiha, the gatherings of remembrance of Allah, the majalis of zikr of Allah, the majalis where we invite one another to the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where we remind one another about the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where we counsel one another about leaving sins against the commandments of Allah. We must keep sticking to these gatherings. And alhamdulillah, there are such gatherings all around us, wherever we are. And Allah Ta'ala has made it easy. We have these online gatherings. So the barakah of these gatherings, we want that barakah to still be with us. These gatherings, it's again, they don't happen by choice. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses us to sit with one another, to meet with one another. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants that connection to remain with us. So we have to maintain these gatherings, view these gatherings of the righteous as our lifeline, the gatherings of our elders, the sohbat-e-salihin, sohbat-e-sadiqeen. These are our lifeline. They keep you connected to deen. As long as you're connected to such gatherings of righteous scholars, gatherings of the mashayikh, gatherings of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these gatherings will keep you connected to deen. They'll recharge your iman. They'll remind you. Person will get the tawfiq to make tawbah once again. And sometimes even keeping the company of one another, trying to counsel one another, like friends, right? Religious friends. That's also helpful. The religious friends, the religious bonds, the bonds that are made in the name of deen, for the sake of deen. We need to keep those bonds alive as well. Allah says in Quran that kunu ma'as sadiqin, that you must join your very being with the true ones. Kunu. All of us, we know this Arabic word kun. Be and it becomes. Kun. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says kunu ma'as sadiqin, it doesn't simply mean that meet the sadiqin once a week, or meet them once a month, or attend the majlis every now and then. Kunu ma'as sadiqin means to join your very being with the sadiqin, with those who are truer than ourselves, those who are truer than us in the relationship with Allah. Make your being, your ma'iyat with the sadiqin. So this is again something which we can make an intention for. That Allah, we want to join ourselves very deeply and closely and intimately with our mashayikh, with our elders. And the next nisbat connection that we should keep alive is that we should continue to remember and make dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This we have spoken about before as well. Allah Ta'ala says in Quran that Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udhkurullaha zikran kasira. That you who have iman, you must remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala abundantly. The less we remember Allah Ta'ala, the more distant we will feel from Allah. And the more we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more closer we will feel to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This closeness is an irreplaceable thing. Irreplaceable. One other very practical thing is that we also have to keep ourselves busy, either with dunya or with deen, so that we might be saved from shayateen. This is a particularly important point. Up till now, we are doing things that we are supposed to do, right? Masjid, Quran, ilm, zikr. One thing is that we also need to keep ourselves busy to save ourselves from the attack of shaitan. All of us, we know that in Ramadan, shaitan and shayateen were locked away. Shayateen are not like passive creatures. They're worse than animals. They know that the time is coming, and now the shayateen are out. They are in charge of making us go astray. That's their job. And there's a famous saying that our teacher used to say, that the shaitan of an average person is average, the shaitan of an alim is an alim, the shaitan of a mufti is a mufti. And a shaitan sends somebody according to their task. So In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that these shaitan will not have any sultan, they will not have any power or any ability over my servants. So we should also then make this dua that Allah, you have kept us in so much aman and peace in the month of Ramadan. Ya Allah, after this month, when the shayateen are all let loose, oh Allah, keep us steadfast, preserve us, guard us. Allah, keep your protective shield around us. You are Al-Hafiz. Allah, preserve and guard us. And the practical way that you can guard yourself is to keep yourself busy at all times. Keep yourself busy in the deen. Fill up your time with the deen. And the last thing which will enable us to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the last connection, and perhaps the most important connection that we need to keep alive after Ramadan, is having talab for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's called talab, yearning, desire, seeking. That Allah, I want you. You have to have this want to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have to keep this want badly within your heart. And if you don't have any of the first 3-4 things, right, all this is the start. It begins with talab, begins with yearning. And the real tragedy is that we don't even want these things anymore. It's not in our dream. It's not part of our hopes and aspirations. We have lost this talab. So we need to restore ourselves and reconnect ourselves back to this talab for Allah Ta'ala. To have this burning desire for Allah. This is talab. I want to become an ashik of Allah, a mahbub of Allah, a muhib of Allah, an ardent lover of Allah Ta'ala. Talib sadiq. Talab. There is no other reason that we have been given existence on this earth other than to seek out the love of Allah and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this talab can happen in one night. The other things, you need to give more time. You need to be consistent. But this is again the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that talab is something you can get instantaneously. We should not let this talab go away in Shawwal. Keep lighting this talab. Keep lighting that flame of desire for Allah in your heart. When that flame is lit up, guard that flame. Tend to it, nurture it, protect it. Don't ever let it go out. Don't allow anything to extinguish that flame of talab for Allah Ta'ala in your heart. Because if it goes out, then it might take a whole another Ramadan to ignite it again. Ramadan, was the taste of what Iman is like. Ramadan, people sometimes think I should this is another mistake that we have when we approach Ramadan. We think that Ramadan was the battle and now we are on vacations. Ramadan, there's a lot of mujahida against in fasting and Taraweeh. And now the Ramadan is over, I can go. There's Eid day and then there's a vacation and now I'm on vacation. The reality is the exact opposite. Ramadan was the vacation. Now is the real battle. Yes, Ramadan was the vacation. Everything Allah Ta'ala made it easy for us. Shaitan was tied down. The nafs is being tamed. We are praying ibadah. It becomes easy to pray, easy to make dua. Everything is going the way it's supposed to be. So easy. It's a vacation. It's like auto drive, auto gear, autopilot. You're moving. Even if you're not doing anything, the drifts of the rahmat of Allah Ta'ala are pushing you. But the moment Ramadan ends, now the battle begins. This is the battle. This is not vacation. Allah Ta'ala gave us that free sample. Now Allah Ta'ala wants us to seek it out. That you got the taste, you got the lazit, you know how sweet Iman is, how sweet ibadat is, how sweet is this feeling of nearness to Allah Ta'ala. Now I want you to make some effort to get it again, to seek, to struggle, to strive, to work hard for this. And that's what Allah Ta'ala wants us to see. That's what Allah Ta'ala wants us to do. This is striving. This is the battle. This is what we have to do. This is the journey. Ramadan, we made tawbah. Now the goal, mission is taqwa. So moving this journey from tawbah to taqwa is called tazkiyah. Tazkiyah is the follow-up to tawbah and Ramadan. Tazkiyah is following up on your tawbah that you made in Ramadan. And tazkiyah is now targeting taqwa. You want taqwa. This is tazkiyah. Tazkiyah means that you're purifying your heart of all impure feelings. To take out the love for ghair mahram, to remove the love for dunya, to put in the pure feelings of loving Allah Ta'ala, remembering Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, wanting Allah Ta'ala. And just as we have teachers for tajweed and hadith and tafsir and fiqh, we also have teachers of tazkiyah. These are the mashayikh of our ummah. And if a person feels that they need the talab and to be guided, they take a bayah, a commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the shaykh, then the shaykh will be responsible for two things. Shaykh does two things. The mashayikh, they will do number one, they will present to us the teachings of the Quran Kareem and the hadith of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in some way that we can try to feel the Quran and Sunnah in our heart. And academically, we know what Quran and Sunnah is. We know that at an intellectual level, we know. But to feel, this is what they do. They present it in such a way that it can sink into our heart. We can feel it. They can paint our heart. Like you go to the paint shop and they give you the paint, the shopkeeper, and then you hire a painter to paint the wall with that paint. So the paint is the color of the Quran and Sunnah. That's the color. The color is color Quran, Sunnah. And the place where you can get this color are the ulama, the scholars. They will tell you what are the teachings of the Quran and Sunnah. You will know what the teachings of the Quran and Sunnah are through the ulama, through learning knowledge. But then you also need someone who can paint our hearts with this knowledge. The painter who can paint the wall. I got the paint, but I need to paint my wall. And that's what the mashayikh do. They try to make us feel those ayat, inscribe and engrave the teachings on our heart. And the second thing a shaykh does is that they instruct us to do some zikr every day, some nafil zikr. And if we can do this nafil zikr every day, then our soul will get this nutrition. We will get this nutrition, this ghiza, this nourishment. So they instruct us on zikr, they help us with our zikr, they guide us to fix our zikr, they give us topics about zikr. And it's our responsibility that we try to listen and then live our life according to those teachings and to do that zikr. So this is the mission. This mission begins after Ramadan. And we then, in summary, we want to remind ourselves of this mission, that the real mission after Ramadan is that we want to maintain that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we want this closeness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we want to ignite this talab, this desire in our hearts. We want to become seekers on the path of the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to become seekers of the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we make dua that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept us on this path. And may Allah ta'ala enable all of us to act on these teachings. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.